Hi everyone, my name's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my winter book haul. This is going to be all of the books I got for like the holidays, for my birthday, because my birthday's in February. Some of this is gifted, some of this is books I bought myself. There are a lot of books. There are so many books on this stack I'm looking at right now. Since this stack is so large, I'm probably going to keep the synopsises brief for these. Also, a lot of them are multiple books in a series, so I will just talk about them as one unit. So yeah, that's that. Let's get into it. The first books I got gifted to me for the holidays from my sister-in-law. She gifted me a few of the books in this stack. I do not have them all stacked in the order of who gifted me what, so this will be kind of out of order, but my sister-in-law gifted me these. It is the second and third book in the Gentleman Bastard series by Scott Lynch. The first book is The Lies of Locke Lamora. I already owned that, and then I was reading these from the library on my Kindle. A lot of books that are on my Amazon wish list are books that I read from the library and then wanted to own. I cannot afford to buy all of the books I read because I read so many books. So I read a lot of books from the library, but then if I fall in love with it, I'm like, dang, I really want to own it. But then when I go to like Barnes and Noble or something and I go book shopping, I want to buy books I haven't read yet. So it's this never-ending cycle of me not owning the books I love. So my Amazon wishlist has a lot of books that I have already read. So my sister-in-law was incredible and got me a lot of the books on that list. So these were two of them. And I know they are the mass market paperbacks, but I had bought the first one as a mass market paperback, so I wanted my books to match. This series is one of the infamous series of having an author that has not finished the series. It follows Locke Lamora and the other Gentleman Bastards who are raised from childhood to be incredible thieves and con artists. This is basically like very Ocean's 11-y, where like it is these complex, well thought out schemes that span up to like a few years where they just con rich people out of money. And it is a delightful series. It has one of my favorite relationships in fiction between Locke and Jean. Their friendship is beautiful, especially in this edition of the series, The Red Seas Under Red Skies. Their relationship grows so much in this book and I love them. The next series I was also gifted indirectly. My coworker, who is also one of my good book friends, gifted me a Amazon gift card. So I bought myself the entire Ninth Reign trilogy. I believe it is called the Winnowing Flame trilogy by Jen Williams. So the first one is the Ninth Reign. And I've heard only good things about this series from the few people I've seen talking about it. Elliot Brooks is always talking about this series on her YouTube and how good it is and how weird it is. And so I was like, listen, the covers are pretty. They're all like super cute. And I trust Elliot Brooks' opinion on books. So I decided I would get it. I don't know a whole lot about what they're about. Whenever Elliot tries to explain what they're about, she is kind of like, well, they're weird and I don't know. So excited to read these. Pumped. I talk about this series in my video series I want to read in 2022. I will link that above, but excited to read this, hopefully this year. The next book is another book that is part of the group of books that my sister-in-law bought me for the holidays, and that is The Loneliest Girl in the Universe by Lauren James. I talk about this book in my favorite books of 2021, which I will link above, but this book is a masterpiece. And it's another book that I had checked out as an audiobook from my library and fell in love with it, but didn't want to spend the money on it myself to own it, because every time I want to spend money on books, I want to get books I haven't read. So she gifted me this, and like this cover is just like stunning. This is a sci-fi book, a YA sci-fi, following a young woman who is on this spaceship, and she is the captain of the spaceship. She's alone, and you learn that she was not always alone, but that everyone else on the ship died from some mysterious cause and she was left alone. Her contact back to Earth takes a long time. All communications take a long time because she is on her way out of the solar system and is far away. So when war breaks out on Earth and Earth sends another ship out to her to help her and boost her systems or something like that, she gets excited and she starts communicating with this other captain and a relationship ensues. And the ending, the twists are just like, ooh, it is such a good book and I see no one talking about it and I need everyone to read it. It's short, it's lovely, it is about like character growth. It tackles a lot of like pretty heavy themes of loneliness and grief and abuse, and it is so good. Read this book. The next book is the only book I bought from that Barnes & Noble 50% off hardcover sale. I went to Barnes & Noble and a lot of the fantasy books I really wanted to read were all paperbacks. I didn't find any that were really like calling out to me that were hardbacks. So I was like, lost cause. So as I'm walking out of the store, I see this and I was like, oh wait. So I got Unbound by Tarana Burke, my story of liberation and the birth of the Me Too movement. So Tarana Burke is the founder of the Me Too movement, and this is kind of like her memoir of why she started the Me Too movement and her childhood and her journey that took her to that point of needing this movement and needing this community to help her and to help others. And it is beautiful. She's an incredible writer, she's an incredible woman, and I think this is a very important book. The next book is my favorite book I read in January this year. I read it on my Kindle originally, and as soon as I finished it, I was like, yep, I'm pre-ordering it. I'm pre-ordering it right now. And that book is The Atlas Six by Olivia Blake. This book, guys, I know it's hyped everywhere. Everyone talks about it and everyone is, I'm sure, tired of hearing about it, but it is worth the hype. As soon as I finished it, I was telling all my friends, like, please read this now. This is my whole personality. Like, read this so we can just rave about it. This is a dark academia book that follows the secret society of people that have magic, that can do different things with their magic, and these 6 people are chosen as the best of the best, and they're told that. And they're kind of just like let loose in the society to explore, and they're told at the end of this, only 5 of you will continue on to join the society. And what they don't know is that one of them will have to die. So it is honestly just like so dark and twisted, and the characters are all morally gray. You like really can't decide who to root for. There's definitely some that are like worse than others, but no one is good. And it is so incredible. Her writing, her like prose is so good, and she like really makes it sound like almost pretentious, but I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, this is a secret society full of like the smartest people in the world with these incredible magical powers, and the writing really reflects that. It really reflects these like elevated thinking, like, I don't even know how to describe it because I am not that smart, but read this book. It is worth the hype, I promise. I don't see many people saying it's bad. So almost everyone I've seen talk about it also loves it. So I think it's worth the read. The next book I got was a book that I had gotten as an ARC from NetGalley. And a lot of times when I get an ARC from NetGalley that is the first book in a series, if I really like it, I'll then pre-order the book before it comes out so that as the next books come out, I can also get those ARCs and those hardcovers. So the next book I got is The Justice of Kings by Richard Swan. This book I didn't have really any expectations for. I didn't go into it with any like preconceived notions. I didn't know what it was about. Based on the cover, I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it. There's like a middle-aged man on the cover, which is normally not my jam, but I really, really liked this book. It follows this empire where there are these people called justices that go around and settle disputes. They are the ultimate law of the land, and they have some magical powers that help them execute their duties. So they can kind of compel people to tell the truth, and on the darker side of things, they can also kind of do light necromancy to figure out what happened to the newly dead. and we follow this justice and his two like helpers basically, who are kind of on the outskirts of civilization, helping these smaller towns when this like religious uprising kind of happens, but they try not to get too involved with it. But then they soon realize that the whole empire might be at stake right now, and that they've maybe put off going back towards the capital for too long. And this book is so good. The relationships are very unique and interesting. The positions of power that a lot of these characters are in are really thoroughly explored. I really think that the characters are all very lovable, but also like make some bad decisions. And I mean, that's honestly like what I like to read about. I want to see people making the wrong decisions because I make the wrong decisions sometimes. Everyone makes the wrong decisions sometimes. So it's very interesting and dynamic to read about people trying to fix what they've done wrong. And this book really follows a lot of that. And also the cover is cool. I was not trying to shit on it earlier. I just normally don't read a lot of books with like an older man protagonist, but the cover is dope. So really cool book. I'm excited for the next one. This just came out, so like rush and go get it. It's very good. The next two books I bought for myself. The first one I had read from the library and wanted to own it, and then the second one I had pre-ordered, and that is The Bone Shard Daughter and The Bone Shard Emperor. This is a series by Andrea Stewart. These are the only two that are out right now, and this series is another one I talked about in my favorite books of 2022. This one, my favorite books of 2021. This one was in it, but this series is incredible. It is an adult fantasy series following this woman who is the daughter of the emperor, the Bone Shard Daughter. Her father uses bone shard magic to create these constructs where he takes bone shards of the citizens of his kingdom and he can etch on them and put instructions that he then inserts into a construct, and the construct is told what to do. So she is trying her best to impress her father and learn this magic herself, but also learn some of the secrets of her past because a lot of her memory is blank. And we also follow a few other characters. There's animal companions. Like, this series is incredible. I'm dying for the third one. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the last. I think it's just a trilogy. But I believe Andrea Stewart has finished the third one, or at least like the first draft, because I follow her on Twitter and I'm pretty sure she said that. So I am incredibly excited to finish this series. The next book I just got last month, and that is House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. This was a pre-order. This book I have an entire dedicated review for. It kind of turns into a rant review, so I will link that above. But this book is okay. This book is the second book in the Crescent City series, the first being The House of Earth and Blood. And this book is incredibly large, and it is not the greatest. I won't go too far into the plot because this is a sequel, but the first one kind of follows this woman named Bryce who lives in this kind of like urban fantasy setting. She is the daughter of this like king of the Fae of the city, and she is half Fae, so she doesn't have a whole lot of power. I'm explaining this book poorly. It's too complex to explain. Most people know what it's about if you've read it. If you haven't, I don't know if you should. Go watch my review for this and let me know what you think if you do. But this is one of the books I got last month. It is still winter, I believe, so. The next books were also books I had read from the library, so they were on my Amazon wish list, and my mom got them for me for my birthday, and that is Kingdom of the Wicked and Kingdom of the Cursed. This is a fantasy romance story that follows this woman whose sister is killed, and what follows as she's trying to figure out what happened is this crazy exploration into the pits of hell, basically. She ends up making a deal with one of the princes of hell and has to, like, cope with that. And then a romance happens and it's so fun. The covers are very pretty. The romance is really fun. The first one reads definitely more YA, but I think the second one gets into more adult territory. There is definitely some sexually explicit scenes, but I really liked them. I wouldn't say that these are like breaking down barriers in terms of like originality, but the premise is fun, the romance is fun, and I really enjoyed them, and I'm excited for the third one to come out later this year. The next book was another book I read from the library, and the second one is coming out this year, so I had to get it for myself, and that is Black Sun by Rebecca Rowanhorse. This book is set in the pre-Columbian Americas, where we follow like this religion, and then we also follow a sailor, and it is a twisted, dark, incredible book. The characters are all very unique. The setting is very unique. I've never read another pre-Columbian fantasy story. I don't think so. But also, like, guys, this cover, I will say the cover for Fevered Star, which is the sequel, I don't like at all. I think it's ugly. I wish they had stuck with kind of like this theme, but I still love the cover of this one. So I really think that this book is so good, and I definitely think that everyone should be reading this. If you're a fantasy fan, you should be reading this because it is different than anything you've read before. I can promise that. The next series I have bought for myself over the past few months. I've bought one at a time every time I've gone to Barnes & Noble. And that is the First Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie. The first one being The Blade Itself. I'm going to set the other two down because these are heavy. This series I've talked about in another video of the series I want to start this year. And I don't have much to say about it because everyone that talks about this book just says there's no plot and it's just like character exploration, which I love, and I'm very excited to get into it. Joe Abercrombie is the Lord of Grimdark. I think I said the King of Grimdark in my other video, and I don't even remember which one is right. It's his Twitter name, and everyone says he's like one of the best Grimdark authors of all time. So I really enjoy that, and so I'm very excited to read these. I think they're going to be a lot of fun. I've never seen anyone talk badly about them, I don't believe. So pretty pumped to get into these. We're in the home stretch, guys. The next two books I bought for myself, also because I haven't read them yet, but I've heard incredible things, and that is Malice and Valor. The first two books in the Faithful and the Fallen series. These are chunky boys, and I think the other two are bigger. So a little intimidating, but this is by John Gwynne. I've read one other book by him. I read The Shadow of the Gods, and the second one of that is coming out this year. So I decided I wanted to read these. These are always lauded as incredible books. From what I can tell, they're just very like traditional fantasy, like there's angels and demons and dragons and stuff, I believe. But I've heard that the character relationships are some of the best in fantasy, so I am excited to get to them. Also, first time I saw the covers, I was like, kind of boring. But together they look pretty cool, but the spines, like when I see them on other people's bookshelves with like all four, I think they look really nice. The white like really pops, so I'm excited to read these. Alright guys, the last book on my winter book haul I bought for myself. It came out in December, and that is The Witcher, The Last Wish, the illustrated edition. This series is not my favorite. I absolutely love the Witcher game. It is one of the best games I've ever played. It is the best storyline in a game I've ever played. I've only played the third one, The Wild Hunt, but it is phenomenal. I played it twice in 2020. I had a lot of time on my hands, and I played it through twice to get the different endings. And it's just such an incredible story. I think the TV show is coming along really nicely. The first two seasons, I'm really enjoying. The end of the second season, I won't give anything away, but if you've seen like the last two episodes, you'll know what I'm talking about. There are like two parts that I have to go back and rewatch every few weeks because they make me scream how good they are. But the books, I like The Last Wish. I like the second one, the other short story collection. And then there was one other book in the series that I liked. However, the way women are treated in these books is impossible to get through. it is so hard. The fact that I read all like 7 of these books is honestly such an accomplishment because there were so many times I wanted to put it down, and the only reason I read them is because of how much I was loving the game. I think that some of the relationships in these books are some of the best in fiction. I think the relationship between Geralt and Yennefer and Geralt and Ciri and all 3 of them together are phenomenal. However, every time Ciri was not with Geralt or Yennefer, I hated it. Not because she wasn't with them, but because of the content that was involved while she was not with them was just so cringy and honestly disgusting a lot of the time. And I think that it was just not very good. I think the plot and the pacing were like it was very stuttering almost. Like it would get really fast paced and then would come to a grinding halt. We would like switch POVs or something and it would come to a grinding halt and I would be so bored. And then it would pick up and I'd be like, wait, it's getting good again. And then same thing. I think the pacing was bad. I know that these are translated. I believe they originally came out in Polish. So the translation I know kind of probably influences some of the prose, but I think that some of it was just kind of like, eh. However, this illustrated edition, I think the cover is pretty. I think for $40, I think that there are not enough illustrations, honestly. It is really not that many, but some of them really are pretty. Let me find one. Like this one is so pretty. It's Geralt and I believe Ciri's parents. And like so pretty. So some of them are definitely very nice to look at. There's just like not a whole lot. There is mostly just like the text. But it is a pretty book. The spine is pretty and it looks nice on my shelf. And again, I love the characters in this. I absolutely adore Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri. They're some of my favorite characters in all of fiction. But I honestly think a lot of that is influenced from the TV show and the video game because the books were a big disappointment for me. They had some perks. There were points in the books where I was like, wow, this is getting good. And then something would happen that would completely take me out of the story. So not without good parts, but I would not say it's worth reading all 7. Maybe read the first and the second. The short stories are definitely better than the full novels. So I think there's actually 6 now that I'm thinking about it. I don't remember. There's 6 or 7 books, but just read the short stories. And if you really feel inclined to continue, a lot of other people say they're great. I just couldn't get past some of the like women hating scenes. So, but this is definitely a pretty book and I'm glad I got it. Maybe a little overpriced, but it is pretty. So that is all of the books I have gotten so far this winter because I don't think I honestly have no idea when the seasons change. Like, I don't have that in my head ever. So it could still be winter now. It could be spring. I have no idea. But these are all the books I've gotten basically since like November. It is a lot, but I did not buy them all myself. So proud of myself. A lot of these were gifted. As you can see, my library behind me is looking a little sparse because half of it is on the ground in front of me. But thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you have read any of these books that I said I have not read yet. And please go read The Loneliest Girl in the Universe because I need more people to read it. It needs to be talked about more. It is a fantastic book. If you liked this book, please like, comment, and subscribe and let me know what you think. Thank you so much for your support. It means the world to me. And until next time, thank you.